Give me a second to find this feed. I'm going to do a real fast video. I want to talk about how you can tell if your partner is toxic. I'm going to talk a little bit about relationships and healing today. Just give it a second so I can find the feed. Facebook's being kind of slow in loading it. I was kind of like in between, should I do a video on relationships or the geostorm that's happening? So I'm going to do this video on relationships, and I'm going to switch over to my healing channel, and I'm going to do a video on this storm and what to expect. We already have a really powerful energy hitting us though. I want to talk about relationships and the spiritual path, because there was this template for relationships prior to this spiritual awakening and this shifting consciousness that's occurring, where people would get married, have the same partner, probably for their lifetime. They might only have one partner in a family, and that would be it. And we see that sometimes people have a hard time with relationships during this awakening because we're fitting so many lessons into one life generally. Usually our souls have a lot to wrap up, and we're kind of in an accelerated learning with this ascension. So instead of doing that 3D template, some people are fitting in more lessons, having to complete lots of soul contracts and things like that. But I want to talk about a dynamic that I see a lot. People will come to me about their relationships, and I see it happen all the time where one person will have a spiritual awakening and the other person not so much. And they might be kind of like getting into it, but not really. And what happens is that the person who usually has this spiritual awakening begins to change rapidly. Suddenly you start to have this remembering occur, and you kind of get back to a different frequency, your own authentic frequency. Because in a way, when we're asleep, we're very inauthentic. We don't know who we are. We have amnesia. We're more disconnected from the spiritual. So what happens is one of the partners will real fast begin to change, and it can be then the other person's usually trying to change the sleeping partner or the person who hasn't had an awakening. And you have to keep in mind that from the other person's perspective, you're the one changing, not them. They're the same, right? They're the same as they were when they met you or whatever, and it's you that's changing. You're having this spiritual awakening and following this spiritual path, and you're changing rapidly. And what can happen is, suddenly if you're into the spiritual and your partner isn't, you're taking a different path than most. We have our little American dream template laid out where you're supposed to get married and do this and follow this way of the matrix, and you're kind of going off that path into the spiritual. And a lot of people will try to force the other person to change. And there lies a lot of issues people have, like my partner isn't changing. What if they don't? What if they don't wake up? What if they don't get into spiritual? Are you happy as is? That's an important question to ask, because people, especially asleep, tend to fall in love with people and see their potential or what they could be like if they would change, or they could be an amazing person if they didn't do this, this, and this. And there lies a lot of the dissatisfaction about relationships. It can feel like sometimes when you're awake and you're around people that aren't awake, like they're in a different dimension. You're tuned into kind of a different world than they are. At some point, our relationships tend to become really apparent, because if you are, the person who's woken up and you're in a relationship with someone who isn't awake, it could be like playing kindergarten. At that point, you could realize there's a serious gap between souls, levels of consciousness, and things like that. But it's important to ask about these type of relationships, and this doesn't just go for romantic ones. Are these relationships toxic to you? And that's what I really want to shift over to talking about today. And it doesn't just have to be romantic partners. We have all types of relationships in our life, but we'll start with the romantic type of relationships. It's important to see both people are going to usually change by love or by being in a relationship. The question is, are both people changing for the better or for the worse? Is this relationship serving both people? Because sometimes we see that love will have an amazing transformation happen and people will change and better themselves and grow. It's really important to kind of assess that dynamic, because we have a lot of people assessing their relationships. A relationship that is toxic for you is probably going to be making you think negative thoughts. about the other person, or, start to become someone that you aren't meant to be. A lot of times people will try to change, to fit in better and things like that, losing themselves in the process. We see that with empathy, it goes a lot of codependence too. And that is really part of the empath path. I feel some of these relationship dynamics, we're kind of getting broken open out of our comfort zone around here. And really a lot of people have learned in those type of dynamics. I want to kind of talk about that too. We see that, when our emotional needs are not met as a child, you can tend to grow up and have unhealthy relationship type of dynamics. And we're kind of living in a superficial world where people are being programmed to present their ego personality. And I am, Mr. Jones, and I was born on this street, and this is my job, and I live here. And these kind of like ego personalities. And we have, a world where people are only beginning now to awaken and delve in deeper. And so, sometimes those are like where our relationship issues lie. We have a lot of fear around here. Yes, I say a lot of people had bad experiences with love, and we tend to close ourselves off because we're afraid, not understanding we have infinite potential to create anything that we want. And love is something that you would manifest too. A lot of the relationships that are toxic to people are manifesting out of a need for something, right? Some type of attachment issue. Like maybe, you're not loving yourself enough, so you want someone else to love you, and you manifest a bad partner who maybe ignores you and doesn't give you love. Or, you have a need, like I want a man to take care of my path and my lessons to make my job easier. And then usually you'll get perfect. They'll be paying your bills, and someone like real abusive or a total asshole. So we see that, when we're manifesting for the wrong reasons, not, out of love, that it really kind of comes around too. So a lot of people are manifesting someone to fill a void. And, those are how we find attachments in life, things that are not good for our energy. Now, love is meant to be an even energy exchange, but we see a lot of conditional love in the Matrix. We see a lot of like, love, I love you, but, if you're doing bad, I don't love you. And these kind of conditional control dramas that have been going on for a long time. Good morning, we're just chatting about love. So we still have a lot of relationship things to hang-ups to clear too. When it comes to our heart chakra, we have these defense mechanisms where you would have gone through something that didn't feel good as a child, and you would have learned how to close yourself off, kind of, to protect yourself, right? We see that with the ego too, where people have had negative experiences and they will react real fast, like out of ego kind of mechanism, part of our programming. We see a lot of projections occurring in relationships too, that it could be like, your triggers might be old things from when you were a kid that were not addressed on an emotional level, and those will be the things that have come up again and again in relationships. Kathleen, I need a min. Just kidding. Good morning. So we have a huge emphasis on the heart chakra right now and clearing out any of these kind of 3D programs when it comes to love. We have kind of our misconceptions about love, and I always thought this could be like a fairy tale love story for everyone. Obviously, you can create what you want, and this is about finding your path. I can only tell you what I'm working on over here and what I'm manifesting, but the amazing thing about consciousness is, you can do whatever works for you. Yeah, you can go create your own path and your own life and your own experiences. And a lot of coming out of the 3D matrix is everyone is convinced we have to follow the same path and dress alike and act alike. And, maybe the most authentic experience you can have here is just finding yourself and being yourself. The universe is so aligned with that. And so a lot of times, going through the matrix, everyone's trying to act alike with their relationships, with how they're dressing, what they're doing. This is really about finding what works for you, finding your path. When we choose relationships based on ego or things like that, they never go good. It's about, aligning with your soul, following your heart chakra, making any life choices, based on a heart chakra kind of frequency. I'm not doing cards till my next feed. We're talking love, relationships, anything you want to talk about. We're talking about love and, connecting deeper during this Leo shift that we're going through. So we do have a Lionsgate energy coming in, and a lot of you guys might be able to feel this, that it is doing, quite a sweep of our heart chakra during this time. It will be bringing up old wounds for the next 6 months or so. We could have old things resurfacing. A lot of these look more like triggers, mechanisms, things coming up. Whatever has given you, fear or anxiety. It could be old hang-ups, things you might not even think, are coming from something, things we still need to clear. So we have a huge emphasis during this shift, and we have intense energy coming in. Not only do we have the Lionsgate portal on the 8th, we're going to have a huge astrological shift on the 11th as well as the 15th. So we're making several shifts right now. It's really important that we're tuning in deeper, on a heart chakra kind of connection. All right, it hasn't been your partners that ever blocked you from love. It was always your fears and everything going on with you. I hate to be the one to tell you. Yes, we tend to have this, fears come up in our mind, and guess what? We will have those play out. Yes, we live in a manifest reality. So if you ever were in a relationship and you were scared your partner was going to cheat on you, probably they wouldn't until you thought that, and then they might go cheat on you, and you might see that play out. So we are our own biggest obstacles when it comes to manifesting. Yes, we have this fear creep up, and it's nothing we want to see happen, right? Doubt, fear, I don't know. And then we tend to create that. So that's how we've been blocking ourselves for far too long, because we have infinite possibilities. The universe is infinite. It could have been a great love story. You think they're going to cheat on you, and they really will. Because this is, a lot of this is learning how to create, learning how to manifest too, and it's hard work. So a lot of times we've been our own worst enemies with our relationships. And, you'll start out and have an amazing relationship, the fear kicks in, and you just self-sabotage. So we've been self-sabotaging a lot of our manifestations around here. Good morning, we're having a love chat. Yes, we're making babies. They're like, no, I love it. Yeah, this is a huge month for love, for things like that. It's an amazing time of year, so that's why we're focusing on relationships, opening up deeper to love. This is a powerful energy too. We're at a K5, probably going to a K6, like I said. So there's a lot of incoming energy. A lot of this energy is not only coming into the Earth's heart chakra, but it's coming through our heart chakra. A lot of our, electromagnetic field centers around our heart chakra. And so that's a chakra that's going to keep expanding. And a lot of what they talk about with the fifth dimension would be mastering unconditional love. Yes, relationships. So it can be even harder when you wake up to date, because, you wouldn't think that, right? You wouldn't think that. But it could be too, because we're very intuitively inclined, tuned in telepathically to vibrations, to frequencies. And then, part of the downside of waking up is we tend to become hypersensitive too. So be careful that we're not being hypersensitive, like you have like a fight with your partner and, you're like, oh my God, it's going to go like this because I had that psychopath guy. Be careful you're not self-sabotaging too, because we tend to become hypersensitive. I think that all of humanity has PTSD. And at the least, it's in our ancestral DNA, right? And so I think that we all have mild forms of PTSD just from this experience here on Earth School. And sometimes, it can take our triggers to bring out those traumas. So definitely be careful that we're not being hypersensitive too. Let's see, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to shift focus. Let's talk about the shooters real quick, Kathleen. I have Kathleen on here. So I don't know anything about it because I'm real unplugged from mainstream news, but I see this article going around Facebook where they're like, guess what every shooting ever had in common? All of these people were on prescription medications, specifically the kinds that would affect their serotonin receptors, right? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, they're getting taken over by the dark side, I think. They should put that on the prescription pill bottle though, like on the warning label. I know it says, suicide and homicidal tendencies on a lot of these pill bottles. But they should say, like, you could go have, mass shoot a school up or Walmart or whatever's going on, right? I just thought that was really interesting that they have found a common tie of pharmaceuticals between all of the alleged people involved with these possible government incidences. Good morning. I just thought that was great. I was like, they should add that to their prescription pill bottle. Reasons that we should stay away from pharmaceuticals too, because they will block us on these type of things. And someone had asked this question, so I'm just going to throw it in here. I'm not saying that you can't be psychic or spiritual. Everyone's on a spiritual journey. Yes, everyone on this planet. And every lesson you've ever had is pertaining to the spiritual. But it's really important that we're as clear as we can be as a conduit to be tuned into our abilities. So I tell people I was on a lot of prescription medications, and while I still may have had psychic tendencies, it wasn't until I began to detox and got off of all the garbage that I really tuned into my spiritual gifts or abilities. For me, that was a big part of lessons in self-love, right? If we're, dulling our sensations with pills or alcohol or, bad relationships, then that isn't a lot of self-love, right? like we're trying to come back to self-love though, and a lot of times people feel these, holes in who we are and are trying to fill these things, but we're meant to feel these things. So if you're depressed, your situation probably sucks. You should probably dump your boyfriend and move rather than going to the psychiatrist and taking a bunch of pills. And what happens is usually people then become hooked on the pills, and then their situation will continue to evolve and get worse. So we should be listening to our body as a receiver. If we feel something about our relationship, this is our intuition. I hate to do this to this person, but on one of our group walls, someone was asking for advice, and they were like, I was going through my boyfriend's computer, and I think he's going on vacation without me. And I'm like, just the fact that you're going through his stuff probably tells you everything you need to know about your relationship. It's either your intuition telling you that, or you're ruining yourself with your insecurity and your fears. I'm not sure. But, you have to listen to your intuition, your gut feeling. And I know, because I see people ask everyone for advice. And sometimes people give the worst advice too, right? Listen to your own intuition. You guys know the answers. Sometimes we have to learn how to be quiet and kind of listen to this stuff, especially about our relationships. Yes, we need to get back to feeling these things though. But like I said, don't be hypersensitive. We do this with programming. Like someone will have a bad relationship and be like, all guys are awful. And, it will become part of our internal programming. So we're moving up in frequency, we're shedding, and I know I just saw a meme. I like to learn off the memes, right? I'm a meme kind of person. And I just saw it, and they were like, people don't leave your life, they just vibrate in and out of it. It's frequency, right? So a good way to tell if maybe your relationship is becoming unhealthy is if you feel you cannot do your path without this person, like in a codependent kind of way, like you would die. If they left you and you would feel like, I would die, I couldn't do it, all dramatic, this may be a sign that your relationship has become codependent or an attachment in some way to your energy. While, we want to come together with another person, we still should respect that we have our own lessons, and so does that person. And the best relationships will allow both partners to continue their paths, and still be together. So relationships that become bad for us are ones that will either take us off of our path, and your partner will kind of suck you into trying to do their lessons for them and ignoring yours. So it's really important to realize that we are complete on our own. A lot of people are manifesting relationships feeling incomplete or that they can't do their lessons. And you don't need a guy to do your lessons. You have God, the universe, source, call it what you want, assisting you and guiding you along with angels, guides, right? All sorts of assistance in the interdimensional. So a lot of people, will manifest bad relationships feeling that they can't do this. And then a lot of times those relationships will make your lessons worse. All right, yes. Look, I love this comment. I love the energy on here too. I haven't been live a minute. I had to go live. It's Monday morning. I'm sending you a lot of love. Look within. When you manifest anything, like my next, I'll do alien contact this week too. I'm excited to do it. And then, I'm going to tell you to go within, that you're not going to send messages to space like NASA keeps doing and get an answer 30 years later via the crop circles. They sent a message to space and they got an answer like 30 years later, encoded in a crop circle. So, whatever. I think the best way, instead of using like technology and machines, would be to meditate, to go within. We have our own universe here, and it is powerful to go within. So if you want to manifest love, go within, meditate on it, put out the vibes. We can create anything we want here. And I think that we have to manifest stuff too, but do it for the right reasons. Love, please. I love it. Do it for the right reasons. You know, love that will be good for you on your path. So, you know, if you're doing worse, like some people get in a relationship and then suddenly, oh, my favorite, I have chronic pain and I'm dying and I'm sick. Well, if you were healthy before that relationship and you were good and suddenly you're falling in and you're getting sick, it might be your relationship. I see that happen with some people where, like, they'll get sick. It'll be bad for your health, being around negative energy. So pay attention to your body. Make sure that your relationship hopefully is uplifting you. Oh, I got suns on my pants. I love it. I was like, think sun gods. Oh, I love it. So I thought I'd send some good vibes out. We need to lift up the collective in love. So let's shift focuses from romantic to partnerships and friendships. If you're not noticing, you've been through a lot of friends. I would hope so anyway, because, you know, we're always changing and shifting frequencies, so people naturally will fall in and out of your life. You know, so we've had a lot of lessons in friendship. Sometimes, you know, instead of focusing on partners and relationships, we should be focusing on your friendships. The people that are there, cultivating those, working on your relationship with yourself. We can never expect anyone to give us the love we need. We have to learn how to do it ourselves. So if you're expecting someone else to be giving all this love you need, it probably won't happen. You'll probably feel disappointed. So it's really important that we're working on self-love, taking care of ourselves first. A lot of people will lose themselves in relationships. Like I said, trying to do their partner's lessons for them. It's really important that we're keeping the focus on our own path too and not losing our identity. Our job is to lift up the collective in love, so we're going to need to manifest self-love. We have a lot of talk. I keep seeing it about like the concept of twin flames. Before any of that is going to occur, you're going to have to find that fire within you, that spark within you, that fire within you. And the amazing thing is about having so many people waking up that sometimes you can be a spark for another. Once you know, become balanced in your energy, you're going to be impacting the people around you and helping pull them out of dark places simply with your light. Yes, you can only change yourself. That's why everyone gets so disappointed with love, right? Because you have a lot of people have a spiritual awakening and they want your partner to change. And we need to recognize that every soul has its own lessons it needs to do and its own path. And so my lessons might look really different than someone else's that needs to be in these, you know, places of learning and right where they should be. And so a lot of people see like, oh, if I could get my partner to be like me now that I'm awake, if I could get them into this stuff. And you're changing rapidly, like I said, and the other person isn't. So a lot of people are always like, oh, it'll be better later, right? And the question is, if you're not happy now, then get out of your relationship because it's never going to be better. Like a lot of people are looking like, oh, in 5 years it'll be better. Oh, maybe it's just because we had a kid, it'll be better in a year. Maybe in 10 years after we retire, we'll have the money we need, it'll be better. If you're not happy then it's probably not going to come later. So try to be content where you're at now in your relationship, not expecting people to change. Well, I believe everyone, you know, evolves at their own pace. Like I said, you know, everyone has their own soul lessons. And a lot of people are needed right where they are. And so I know that we expect everyone to be light workers and spiritual and like us and awake. But we have to recognize that, like I said, everyone's at different levels and right where they should be. All right, our friends can become toxic to us too. So can your family members. Alright, as we're doing this spiritual awakening, we're becoming more and more telepathically tuned in. Yes, some of you guys can think of me, and I'm bad with my messages, but maybe you could think of me and I would know you needed me and come to you. So we're becoming increasingly telepathically tuned in. So if someone's sitting there thinking toxic thoughts about you all day, there's going to be an energetic exchange. You know, we always think energy exchange is like verbal or in person. I could have someone in China thinking negative thoughts about me all day long. It would probably bring down my frequency. I would probably feel more higher levels of anxiety or stress or pretty much feel it. So when we're connected to people that are toxic or would be thinking of us all the time, a lot of times they're, you know, having an energy exchange with us that isn't very good for us. So you could have, you know, Mr. Toxic over here at work thinking, you know, my wife's a biatch. My wife's a biatch. She didn't cook my breakfast right or whatever. And you're over here at home and you're like, thank God this guy's gone. No. You're still connected. There are cords that connect us with our partners. So, you know, if someone's toxic and thinking about you, it can really affect your energy. And this isn't just for partners. It's for friends, haters, family members, any type of person that could be connected to you. So make sure that you're choosing your friends, your circles, your partners more carefully doing this ascension. So, how can you tell? All right, so we're changing our frequency, and there should be a resonance. Like, you really want to be around people. Some people you just want to be around. Like, hopefully you guys want to be coming and having coffee with me, I'm hoping, okay? But sometimes, like, you could get someone coming to your Facebook, and you're like, oh, God, I'm not answering this, right? So I probably don't resonate with that person's frequency, or they could be at a lower frequency. I just don't want to do it. But then some people, I'm like, oh, hi, Kathleen, hi. Hi, guys. And I'm all lit up about. So pay attention, though, because, you know, I know everyone's words, I say, sound perfect around here. Pay attention to how your body feels around people. If you're, like, lit up and in bliss, your relationships should be making you happy and lit up. Love should be like, oh, I'm in love and I'm happy, right? No, usually people around here are like, yeah, I'm married, I'm on kid number 3. This guy is like a total narcissist. This is how people sound in some of our groups, right? Love was meant to be like a beautiful exchange. And it's all that source wants to create, and not the fake kind, not the, you know, complaining kind. It wants to really see you uplifted in love. A lot of what I found with this path is perfect. Someone's reading my mind. Mo's reading my mind. Is that you need more time alone. And this is why a lot of people are having relationship issues. Because I know a lot of my path was I had to kind of be alone for a minute. At different stages in this journey, I had to spend a lot of time alone. I needed to be very comfortable by myself, which I always am. I prefer to be by myself rather than hanging out with people, if you know me. I'm like, yeah, I prefer to be off-grid hanging out by myself. So I really am very comfortable being by myself. Then we have the types of people that they're by themselves and they're like, I'm bored. Oh my God, I have to go do something. Can I find a friend to hang out with? Oh my God. And then they are not comfortable by themselves. So a lot of this is becoming comfortable by yourself, loving yourself. Yeah, it gives your partner alone time too. Listen, I just told someone this. And everyone's, like I said, hypersensitive. Like, oh my God, we got an argument. Is this the dark side? Is he going to eat me again? Because we had these negative experiences going through our own darkness to get to where we are now. And so give your partner space too. We have tons of energies coming in. You know, everyone's at ground zero. Some people, you know, realize it. Some people don't. Some people are still in the ego illusion of, yes, I'm going up and I'm going to be like the Kardashians. But I mean, realistically, we all are kind of at ground zero. Humanity. Look around the planet. So, you know, give people, your partner, space. Seriously. Because, you know, they're clearing out a lot of stuff too. Like, just as you guys probably had a lot of karmic partners, if you're in a relationship, they probably had a couple relationships that didn't work out either. And you know how they didn't work out? Because they weren't with someone when they met you. So you can tell that they probably didn't go good. So we've all had relationships that don't go good, and we all have trust issues and things that we need to heal to, and we need to learn how to open up further. And the global elite would love to have us all closed off and, you know, completely self-centered and not caring about one another. So give your partner space. Take alone time too. Do things that excite you still. A lot of people will get in relationships and, like I said, they won't do anything that they like or that they're into. Make sure that you guys still have some kind of passion or bliss or purpose that's lighting you up too with your relationships. And, you know, you guys don't need to wake your partners up. If you guys are in some type of relationship and having sex, there is an energy exchange. And hopefully your energy alone will do these kind of things, right? Just being around people. I don't know that we can, you know, really say a lot to people. They have to have a spiritual awakening on their own. It's kind of between us and God. I'm not sure. But, you know, you're still having an energy exchange on every level. The benefit of being with someone that is at your level is it's going to be an even exchange. When you're with someone who maybe has a nasty energy or an energy you're not that into anymore, it will bring you down in frequency. So it's like I said, it's important that we choose our partners kind of, you know, more adept if you're having a spiritual awakening, your soul probably won't be satisfied unless you find someone that's on a spiritual path too, because there's going to be so much of a difference. Right now, it's almost like we're in two worlds, or we have access to two worlds, and there is the material third dimensional paradigm, which is still going, prison planet, right? And then we have the spiritual that are awake and are connected to the fifth dimension and are seeding the new earth and are, you know, stabilizing more and more into those frequencies. And if you're with someone that is still on that material path, it can be too much of a dissonance at some point in time. All right, I'm going to go on that note. I'm going to go find some cards and I will be back. But make sure that you're resonating with it. One good way to tell is, are you getting excited? Sometimes you talk to people and they light you up and you're so excited, or are you like, oh God, I don't want to hang out with them. Pay attention to your body. How you're feeling is, you know, not something we need to mask. It's something we need to learn how to tune into better. Our body is always trying to communicate with us. And what happens is sometimes people are in a relationship and someone gets sick. And the reason why is because your ego thinks this is great. Your ego is like, I'm in love over here, I'm getting married, or I just got married. And then you start to get sick because your subconscious knows that this is a karmic situation and someone you probably need to get away from. And a lot of the times, if you ever had a karmic partner, these are not our first experiences with these souls, that there could be past life connections, and that since we're doing this ascension, sometimes we have to untangle the knots of these karmic circumstances. So sometimes people get sick. And, you know, there's no greater lesson than getting sick or losing all your shit or hitting rock bottom to really see more of what's around you. So pay attention to your body. People get anxiety. I always, like, if I get anxiety near someone, I haven't for a little while, but when I was asleep, I was always getting a lot of anxiety. Probably my body's way of alerting me to something wasn't right. So sometimes we're getting anxiety and it's trying to let you know, your body, that something isn't right with this person. Like, run. Like, run. Right? Your pulse starts going real fast. You get this, like, anxious kind of feeling. So pay attention to your body.